Hey everybody, my name is LadyJ. Welcome to this special show. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we want to make sure that we honor those who have suffered through domestic violence. There are people who are laying in their graves because of the domestic violence. There are people who are in facilities because of domestic violence. And so we want to take a moment tonight and just talk about it. And I'm grateful for the ladies that are on with me tonight. You guys already know Van Green because she has a show on What Up Baltimore on Monday nights. So at 6 o'clock, People's Power Assembly. So you know her. But then we have Brittany Murray, who is in the bottom left corner right under me. That's Brittany, y'all. And here's the crazy thing about that. I used to hold Brittany when she was little. So, that's how far we go back. And her father and mother were like the little kids that I would watch. I don't know how they grew up and caught up with my age, but I used to watch her parents at church and after church and all of that. So that's how far we go back. And then we have Miss Kevette. She's going to tell you about her because I just recently met her. But we're going to get started and we're going to have this discussion. And you guys, there's a phone number on the screen. If you want to call and say something to the ladies, you can. You can also, of course, make your comments, and we'll see the comments. We'll put those up on the screen. But we just want to talk about domestic violence. And I wasn't able to get a man on who had gone through domestic violence. But hopefully, even when this month is over, I'm really going to try to work on getting some men and hearing their side of the story as well, because we don't want everybody to think that it's just women, because men go through abuse as well. So, ladies, welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to start with Brittany because I think you're the youngest out of all of us, and I want you to first of all just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us what life was like before you got into that domestic violence situation.
Well, like she said, my name is Brittany. I'm 30 years old. I have two small children. They're 5 and 7. Um, I'm a full time mom. I have a full time job, so life can be kind of crazy. But I do have God and help, so I really don't have too many complaints there. But life prior to um, domestic violence and abuse was pretty simple. Um, I had a baby. My son, who I had another relationship, and it was pretty. It was I guess you can say it was simple. It was just us two. I lived with my mom and dad. I was working, so it was something that I hadn't gone through before. I had prior to this relationship, I did go through like verbal abuse in
Mm-hmm.
in one of my relationships. I did go through verbal abuse, but I had never gone through like the physical. And it, I can just say it wasn't nothing like I had ever, like I was in a regular, pretty simple place.
Hmm. So you went through physical abuse?
Yes.
Physical. Okay, so we want to hold it right there. I want to go to Kevette, and I want you to tell us the same thing. Tell us a little bit about you and what was life like before you got into whatever the abuse was that you endured.
Well, life was pretty simple. Again, I did have a child before I was married. My domestic violence situation that I'll talk about tonight is my previous marriage. And there was some physical abuse, but there was also, and mainly, the verbal and emotional abuse that was most significant. Um, I would say that before that relationship, I really was primed for an abusive relationship because my self esteem was very low. And I, was coming from a place of more neediness and really looking for rescue as opposed.
Is admitting that our part in the process. That's the first part that we
Yes,
have to do.
ma'am.
So Van, tell us a little bit about your story and a little bit about, I think people probably already know you, but for those who don't, tell us about you and the type of abuse you endured.
Well, I was a single mom with three children. Worked full time, working two jobs. I was a CEO, and then I was a manager at Rite Aid. Um, it was kind of tough trying to raise three children without a dad. I didn't need or want anything from them, but I went through the two abuse relationships. My ex-husband and my daughter's father. Um, I was always a fighter, so I think it was a challenge for me, but never men. I thought that when I was younger, coming up, that men was always supposed to respect their queens, um, love them, cherish them, and take care of them. Until I got older to realize that it wasn't so much about the person that they were with, it was the cheating and to make an excuse for the behavior of them.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of took it out on the person who they said they love and live with and birth children. But then they became to the point where the physicalness took place, and I got just tired of the fighting. It led up to me having to shoot my son's father.
Mm.
Um, I didn't kill him, but I shot him because he had hand problems all the time. Um, and it led to him using drugs. Um, but I had to get away from him. But it's hard to try to get away from physical abuse.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna talk about that. So I want you to hold it right there because we have questions leading up to all of this. And thank you all for sharing. So it seemed, Kevette, was yours physical as well?
Some, yes.
Some. Okay, so I didn't really endure physical because I probably would be in jail right now. I that God knew, and He knew He had a plan for my life because I would have beat him to death. So but mine was mental and emotional in my marriage, and then after marriage, a short time after I separated, I got involved with somebody else, and that was mentally abusive. And that's the one that you don't see. You don't see the physical scars and marks and all of that. But mental abuse caused me to have three strokes. And it took a while for me to get to where I am today. And I still have some residuals of it, but I've learned to manage it and I've learned how to work through it. But it caused me to have three strokes because my brain had just gotten to the point where it could no longer handle stress, chaos, anxiety. And so now I have to be very careful about putting myself in those situations because when that happens, my body automatically goes into stroke symptoms, a stroke or stroke like symptoms because my brain cannot handle that type of stress and anxiety and all of that. So that's how it's left me. So and I really want to say, thank you all for your transparency as well. Now, the next question I had is, because this is the question, like a lot of times people will be like, you know, you're in this situation, why don't you just leave? I stayed in my situation for 27 years. And in between, people were like, well, why don't you leave? You must love them. And you hear all of the stupid stuff along the way. And that was the one thing that used to really piss me off, because I'm like, it's not that I'm so in love that I can't leave. I can't, at this point in time, I can't even figure out how to leave. So I wanted to ask you all the question. Um, what, how did you find yourself? I know we touched on it a little bit, but how did you really get stuck? When did you figure out or realize that you were just stuck and you couldn't figure out how to get out? Brittany, go ahead.
I realized, and it's definitely like you just said. It's just kind of like it just happens. Like how did I get here? Like
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here? It's kind of like your mind literally goes into just like this fog, and you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of become just existent. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just you're just like a being just walking this earth. I was doing things. I remember I was doing things just to put myself out of misery, drinking,
Right.
smoking heavy,
Yeah.
because and I think what made me feel stuck, and how I got stuck, was I had a child by this person, and this
Mm.
person didn't have much, and he didn't want to leave. He did not want to leave. And I didn't, that was the first time I ever dealt with something like somebody that did not want to leave. So you're just going to
Yeah.
like continue to put me in misery, but you don't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just misery. He was miserable. I was miserable. It went far beyond just physical. We were physically fighting, and literally trying to kill each other in front of our children. Like, so it was even before, it was far beyond it. It was the mental, it was the verbal, it was the just talking to me like I'm just a piece of trash,
Mm-hmm.
just literally trying to just downgrade me, and just literally just trying to make me feel like I'm just absolutely nothing. And I
Yeah.
literally heard that from time to time. You're just nothing. You're nothing. Get up and make my food. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of, I just kind of became stuck. But it's just like I literally, my self value, and the way I saw myself at one point just melted away.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I just didn't, I had, this person didn't want to leave. So am I supposed to be here? I'm just supposed to just exist this way. And I was just kind of just moseying life along, just existing, just existing. I
Wow.
literally, and I tell people when I tell this story, my daughter, I don't remember from the time she was about 3 months till the time she was about 9 months, because I literally have repressed it. And at that
Yeah.
time, my mind was so damaged to the point where I literally was just existing. Like, people will bring up things like you. I'm like, I'm sorry,
Oh
I
my
don't,
goodness.
because
Yeah.
I can't. It's almost like I said, it's just, I was just existing, and I just became stuck,
Mm-hmm.
because it was just like, oh, this is just it's Tuesday. Oh, it's just Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
It's Thursday, So it was difficult, but I can't even really exactly pinpoint how you get stuck. I just know for me, like I said, he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And it was just, he was thinking that, we're going to work out. And I got to a point where I was just so traumatized to the point where I didn't feel anymore. I didn't want anymore. I it was bad. So I think
Yeah.
that's, for me, that's how I got stuck.
And you know what? You brought up a good point about um when it's checking out. That's what it's called. You just check out.
I literally
Because yeah, I did that with my son. And when I say, I'm so glad you said that, because when I say that to people, they're like, what? And I literally checked out for about 2 years. I was in the house. But for those 2 years, just like you said, sometimes my family has conversations or my son might say something and I have no idea what they're talking about. I was present, but I had mentally checked out.
Yep.
So I just don't remember. And I'm
If
so
it
glad
wasn't
you
for like
said
the
that.
videos in my
Yeah.
phone and the pictures in my phone, like once I kind of came back to, it was like, oh wow, that happened. Oh, oh, that
Yeah.
happened. Oh, like it was beyond me. It was
Yeah.
beyond me. Yeah.
Kevette, I'm gonna go to you too. Ask you the same thing. When did you realize that you had just gotten to the point where you were stuck and you couldn't get out of it?
I felt stuck when I found out a few months after we had gotten married that I was pregnant.
Oh wow. Wow.
And that to me, because I thought that, I mean, there was a lot going on in the situation to begin with. I
Mm,
already had one child. He had several children from a previous marriage. So we were a blended family. I figured we would have time to enjoy, life together, just us as a couple.
mhm,
And then also, have the kids blending in. And then when I found out I was pregnant, it was just like, the ball dropped. And it was
wow.
like, okay, this is serious. Because I had some things that I was doing, in my career, in my life at that time. And once I found out I was pregnant, all of that shifted. And
Mm,
I had to make different decisions. And it was in making those decisions to pull back from my career, to stop, with some of the side, things that I was doing, that really kind of started that kind of snowball effect that we had.
mhm,
It starts with a kind of isolation and pulling
Mhm.
back, not really being involved with things the way that I had been at one time. And
mhm.
his influence was consistent where that was concerned.
Yeah.
Right after we got married, whenever I wanted to go out with my friends or whenever I wanted to go to an event that was, going on, it was an issue. It was
Mhm,
something that became, stressful, and, it was like, well, why do you want to go? And you don't need to go. And, those kinds of things. And so that's when the feeling stuck started. But then, I believe that everyone who gets married, wants to have an everlasting relationship.
yeah.
That's the whole
Yep.
goal. You want to
Yep.
be together forever.
Mhm,
And so because I had come from a household where, yelling and screaming, hitting and fighting was, kind of a normal occurrence, then, it wasn't a big deal for me, to just transition, I guess, into this situation with those same behaviors.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
was, even out of control at times, and I recognize that, it takes two to tango.
mhm,
you know
mhm,
and for me, it was when I started to feel the pressure of the, decisions that I was making constantly being, pressed down, or, disregarded, or just, looked down upon. Condescended is the word that I'm
mhm,
Yeah.
looking for. When that constant condescending it just wore on me. And I felt like, before I was married, I had so much freedom and so much opportunity to do many things. And then I felt like where I was going to have more opportunity, because now I was supposed to have, a partner in life and business,
mhm, mhm.
because I met my ex-husband, through business. And I,
Okay.
really, enjoyed our friendship, and then the relationship that I felt like we would have in marriage, because I felt like we would grow our partnership in business and for the long term,
Mhm,
be able to build something for our family. And when I realized that that wasn't the case, and I was pregnant, and I didn't have anything because I had given up my job and I had given up my side gig,
mm,
then it just set into me. And I guess, similar to what you said, Brittany, I started to check out,
yeah.
time to time. But there was a specific period, because I was in that marriage for 17 years.
Mm,
And halfway through, there was a period where, just like what you say, the pictures, the conversations and things, my ex would tell me about conversations and things that happened because I got sick. And I spent some time, in the hospital on a couple of different occasions for, health issues, which
mhm.
I know now were
Yep.
related to the
Yep.
stress, which
Mhm,
were related to, my not caring for myself,
Right.
on
Right.
an emotional and mental level. And even spending some time in the psychiatric ward because I needed to have that that mental health assistance, that support. Um, and it was almost it was almost a relief to be there because
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not have the normal stresses of my life that to deal with. That was kind of like a vacation.
Right.
And it was
Right.
funny because I remember when I came out of the mental health ward on one occasion, and a friend of mine said to me, "Oh, so you spent some time at the spa?"
Mm.
Ah,
And I was like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" She says, "Oh, you spent some time at the spa." And it kind of clicked some things for me.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I spent some
Yeah.
time taking care of me. I spent
Right.
some time focusing in on what I needed to do to be my best and to be better, not just for myself, but also for my children.
Right.
And that
Right.
situation, unfortunately followed a suicide attempt,
Yeah.
because the abuse had become so severe and my feelings of worthlessness had escalated so, greatly, that I just didn't feel like it was worth me being alive.
Right. I've
Um,
been there.
yeah,
I've been there too. It used to be hard for me to talk about, but I went through that time of just not wanting to be here and trying to figure out the best way to check out without it not affecting my son and all of that. And then at one point I was just like, forget it. I know that my family will take care of him, and I just took those pills and was just like, hopefully I don't wake up. I just mixed the pills and took them and did it twice. And and it just goes to show you that God does have a plan for our life, because some people will
yeah,
do certain things to try to commit suicide, and they actually die. And
yeah,
then there are other people who will try. And I remember the one time I did it, and I woke up the next morning, because I did it before I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning and I was so angry with God. I'm telling you, like, I was fussing
I
at
know that
him
feeling. Yeah,
because he let me wake up the next morning. I'm like, what do I have to do to die? It was just that bad. So I definitely understand that. And Van, I want to go to you and ask you the same thing. What was that point that you came to when you realized you were stuck and it was just hard to get out?
I think for me, my escape was because I was working a lot and being around a lot of men, and they were talking about what they've been through in their lives. And I thought, for me, like a lot of the ladies on here said that it was mine was more physical. And don't get me wrong, physical and mentally is just as worse as the physicalness. I had the mouthy part about you ain't gonna never be this, and my weight this, and don't nobody want you. And but I was the person that held all the responsibility, did everything I could possibly do, just to make him happy, to please him. I think I put a shield up because I got tired of the verbally part of what he was saying. So it was becoming mental because you kept saying this. And I started actually believing, because it was so much him saying the this and you ain't and you is and you ain't, and it became, his words became me. So I shadowed myself by just kept working. So I wouldn't see him, I wouldn't hear that. And then because I was working, it became, you're not spending enough time, you out there cheating, and you out there seeing somebody. And it was to the point that I come in the door, clothes being ripped off, and like he would smell me. And it got to the point where fight back, because you're a fighter. You can't continue going through this. You have children involved. I would, send my kids or my mom house a lot, because I didn't want them to hear and see that and thinking that growing up, this is how a man's supposed to treat a woman's supposed to treat a man, vice versa, because men go through it too. And it was to the point that for me to try to get away. It's hard trying to get away from abuse.
It is.
People can say what they want to say that why you can't get out, why you won't leave. It's hard because nowadays and back then it was. I'm not gonna say it wasn't as worse as it was back then. Towards now, they're killing us because we want to leave and because they don't want nobody else to have us. It's like you go to jail and I done beat you up and stomped all over you, but you still living. So why not just take your life and take mine too?
Right.
It's to the point where we get so tired of just taking so much, and then when it's all said and done, then we are suffering. It's almost like when you have a baby and you go through after the after effects of the emotions. So I went through the emotions real bad, and it caused me to get on depression medication. It caused me to get on mental health medication. And still to this day, I take it, and I take it because I walked around because I was so angry. I took it out on everybody. Where were you when I needed you? Why didn't you answer the phone? And you want to come now because because I have something that you want, or I have information that you need, but you wasn't there for me. And that's how I react to other people. And I think it kind of kept me at a point where I went through it so much that I just wanted to fight. It didn't. I mean, you could say boo to me because I felt like that men think that because they take us through that we their punching bag and we a mat you step on and we take so much, and they say that women are strong. Yes, but we are strong to a certain extent, not for you to put your hands on us and beat and bang on us. And it became to the point where I'm breaking things in my house. One day he had black in my eye, and because I kept telling him to leave, I'm changing locks, kept calling the police. He would climb through the window, and I was cooking spaghetti. I never forget. I was putting the spaghetti on the stove because the police officer kept telling him to leave. He came through the basement window, and when he came through the window, he came in the kitchen, and before I knew it, I turned around, he was there, and I had a spoon in my hand. He was choking me. I was able to get the pot, and I threw it on him. And when he was screaming and hollering, it was a hammer on the freezer. I was hanging up a picture or something, and I just lost it. Like I really just blinked. All I seen was black, and I just started beating him because I started thinking about everything he'd done to me. And that was just my ex-husband. But it could traumatize us. I mean, if it happened when we were younger and now that we are grown women, it makes us keep our guards up towards a man who is for us, and we don't know how to accept him saying, I love you, and spending time and taking us out to dinner. You just keep your guards up because always in the back of your mind, you're going to feel like, okay, you're going to do the same thing and you're going to be just like him. And, I don't want to love you. I mean, I'll like you, but I'm not going to love you. And it takes you so long to get all those emotions together to say, you know what, I'm going to give him a shot. But in the back of your mind, you're saying, I can't do this because you're confusing your heart with your head, you're confusing your brain with your heart because you really want to like him. I mean, you really want to love him, but it's nothing like just liking him. Okay, I like him. But you can't form your lips to say, I love you. Abuse is worse. It's verbally, a man could beat you up with his mouth and make us believe that that's who we are.
Right. I think we have a caller. Give me 1 second. LadyJ Media. Is this a caller? Is this a caller for the show? Did I answer it?
Yeah, I was thinking while you're doing that, I was thinking about, one of the things that we hear when we're children is that sticks and stones can break my bones, but will never hurt me. And that is the biggest lie ever told.
Ever.
It really, as children, we were encouraged to not acknowledge the pain that came with the words that hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
feel like that, has led to a lot of people not being able to be emotionally intelligent enough to understand how they're even feeling, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of why they feel that way. It's
Mm-hmm.
first of all being able to identify the feelings that you have in order to be able to deal with them. Once
Right.
we're able to identify our emotions, then we can start to work on, well, why do I feel this
Mhm.
way? How do I
Mhm.
change my feelings? How do I change my
Mhm.
beliefs? What
Yeah.
actions do I need to take to improve in my experience in life, my quality of life?
Hmm. And a big question, and I wanted to acknowledge this comment. I think this person's name is Payne Gray, who said, "I've been trying to pinpoint my memory lapse. This helped me so much." And then
Yeah.
we have Adenike Jacobs that says, "Very true." I wanted to go back to what Miss Gray said because um, I think that's important for us. I don't want to brush past that. But
Yeah.
when you go through this type of abuse, your body has a lot of will put up the protection. You have
Fight,
it
fight.
goes into protective
Yeah.
mode because we've kind of checked out, so your body goes into protective mode. And when so many things are going on, you really do check out pain. You do
Yeah.
you check out. Kevette said something about the hospital. I cannot count how many times I was going to the hospital for different things, and every time they did the final report, it was just like you're stressed. I'm like, no, this is hurting. My chest is hurting. My
Pain.
heart, my heart is
Hurt
beating.
that.
Yeah,
Yep.
my head is hurting,
Hurt
and it was
that.
always
What's in your
stress.
diet? What's in your diet?
Exactly. Yeah. So it affects this abusive behavior affects your body in so many ways, guys, and we have to be really careful. And you know what, ladies, we might have to do a part two for this as well because we're not going to be able to cover everything.
Yeah.
But it's good when people can actually watch and see the faces of people who've gone through different types of abuse and be able to see you talk about it. Van touched on something too about how it leaves you even when you're trying to go into a relationship with another man, or if you're a man going into a relationship with another
PTSD.
woman.
PTSD.
Exactly, PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. It's
Yep.
so many things that you have to work through, and that's what I want to do for the part two show. I want us to be able to talk about, what that's like, and how did you get over. So the other question I wanted to ask you is, after going through all of this abuse, and Kevette, you said 17 years. I was in my relationship for 27, then got out of that. A couple years later, got into another one, stayed in that for 3 years. Both mentally abusive relationships. How did you get to the point where you just said enough and you left?
Right. Well, unfortunately, I had experienced another trauma. My father passed away.
Okay.
And so what happened, because I was living out of the country with my family for a few years at that point in time, then I came back to the United States in order to assist with his final affairs and, get all the funeral arrangements and everything together. And during that time, it was really the first time that I had been outside of my home environment where, I was away from the abuse on a and so it was almost as if, because I was out of that environment now, as my ex-husband was reaching to me over the phone and badgering me and, just interrogating me, and I mean, just all kinds of, just saying really mean things to me,
Mm-hmm.
talking about how, he wanted me to send money back to him, and, why I wasn't doing this, and, inquiring about my father's estate and things like that. It was crazy because once I got, every time I got off the phone, I was either crying when I got off the phone,
Mm-hmm.
or I went to the bathroom and I was crying in the mirror. As I was trying to build myself back up,
Mm.
you know.
Wow.
And that, to me, was when the veil was lifted,
Yeah.
because I recognized wait a minute, I'm not even like in his presence and he's still reaching me
Yes.
this way. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
crying,
Mm-hmm.
like why you in a loving relationship, you should not be crying every day,
Right.
or every time you come into contact with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was the veil lifted.
Yeah.
I knew that I could not continue on living my life that way, especially having lost my father, knowing that, I felt like his life was cut short. I said, life is so valuable to me from that
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And now it currently even is that I don't want to spend another day of my life in misery. I
Right.
want to
Right.
celebrate every day, and I want to make sure that I'm encouraging other people to do the same thing, which is why I
Mm-hmm.
continue to do what I do.
Yeah. And I think the moment for me was when I had my heart attack. So I've had 3 strokes and a heart attack from
Mm,
being in abusive relationships. And none of them were because of health, it was because of stress.
yeah.
So when I had my heart attack in 2008, I was actually at church and I was singing, and I was with the praise team singing, but I didn't feel good. And so when church was over, I was just like, I'm leaving. I'm going to drive home and just lay down. And my friend who worked in the sound booth actually grabbed me, and the back of my dress was wet from like top to bottom,
Wow.
just from sweat, and I didn't even know it. And all I remember is like after that, I think I passed out. I don't even remember what happened, but when I woke up, I was on the cardiac floor. And I was trying to figure out, like, why am I on the cardiac floor? And when the doctor came in and said I had a heart attack, the first thing in my mind was, you know what, this is just too much. This is
Mm,
enough. I'm going to die. I was in my early 40s. And the one thing he said to me, he said, whatever stress you're going through, you need to get rid of it because you're
right.
too young to be on a cardiac floor.
Mm,
So that was like the moment for me when I said enough. And when I got out of that hospital, I stayed at my parents, I think, for maybe a week or so. And then I just started looking for apartments because I was like, at that point, I had tried the suicide, but it's like when you get to that point, when you really are about to check out, then you start thinking differently. Like, do I really want to go? So at that point, I was just like, no, I'm not going to leave my son like this. So that was my moment of just saying enough, and I left, and that was in 2008. Brittany,
mm,
what was the moment for you?
Well, unfortunately, my moment was it was actually two. Well, my first relationship, like I said, he was really, really verbally abusive. We didn't have any
Hmm.
kids together. We actually almost had a child together. But because of the amount of verbal abuse, I didn't want to bring that child into this world. And I was only 19. I didn't know better. And I think that moment right there, I was still young. I was like, I'm not dealing with this no more. I can't deal with this no more. I just kind of like, as we say, ghosted him. Like we just kind of
Hmm.
disappeared.
Hmm.
And for the last one, it was the third time he actually infected me
Mm.
with chlamydia.
Oh,
And
wow.
and then on top of that, it was the fact that I had to keep. It was like the third time I had to leave. No, this is the second time I had to leave my children in the middle of the night to go to the ER because I couldn't get my heart rate down, and I couldn't
Mm.
get the sweats to go away, and I couldn't I couldn't just relax. I couldn't sleep. I was having panic attacks. I was calling my mom in the middle of the night, like, Mom, my heart rate is so fast. It's happening again. I'm shaking. I didn't do
Hmm.
anything. I don't know what's going on. I'm just
Right.
shaking. I can't breathe. Like, and my body was just going through, and I just didn't understand. But I knew something wasn't right,
Hmm.
and it was those moments where I'm like, yo, this is not worth it. This is just
Hmm.
not it. Unfortunately now I have a son that has become attached to this individual, and I have a daughter by this individual. So it's like, you know, but I can't do this. And
Hmm.
and it was also, I had found out that he was talking to multiple women again, and it was just like, okay, it just like I just came to a light. And it's the crazy thing is that it's weird because just the way we don't know how we get stuck,
Hmm.
it's just weird how that light pops on, and it's just like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel it deep down
like
inside.
somebody flipped the
Unfortunately,
switch.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
unfortunately sometimes it has to take something traumatic to happen, and sometimes it's like, you're not good for me. I'm no good for you.
Right.
We got
Right.
a child together, and you don't like me. You don't. And he admitted to that, and I, didn't like him. It was no bad. Let's keep it moving. And then eventually he left, and I just slowly but surely started to focus on my spiritual life and my walk with God more and my children more, and I just found so much peace. I just felt like, and I started taking care of my body more. I just wasn't doing as much drinking. I didn't smoke any more Black and Milds and weed and stuff like that, for like, I just couldn't do it no more. And it was, like I said, it was just the fact that this individual, he wouldn't get himself checked. So he infected me with chlamydia, and he kept infecting me because he kept lying to me, saying that he got himself treated, and he never got himself treated. So every time I went to lay down with him, he was infecting me again, and I didn't even know. So, and then at one point he even tried to, you did it. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I don't even have the mentality to even, I can't even go in here. I can't even go anywhere.
Right.
So I can't. What can I do? And it was like I said, I have a daughter, and something clicked, and like, do you really want your daughter to continue to see this? And with this, like with him, her father, I really was in physical. Like I have scars. It got bad. I actually had a cop across the street who was ready, like, listen, all you got to do is give me the word. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do, and it even got to a point where I tried to kill him. Like, it was a really rough moment. It was bad. It was really, really bad. But like I said, those moments right there, it just was like, ding, like, all right, you want to keep it going? Should we continue? Do you need any more reasons? You have a son. This is what you're watching. You have a baby. This is what she's watching. Y'all not tailoring this for children. So you want to continue to do this in front of them? And it was just like, it was my godmother. One day we were actually at, like, my mom's house. We were gathered, like, with family. She was just like, you look horrible. You look so rough. And my defense is like, that's ignorant. That's how could you say something like that? Because I really do look horrible. I used to walk around and just clothes, like just holy shirts and holy leggings and scarves. Go days without bathing, like it was just like whatever, because I was just existing. So it was just like, you don't look like yourself. This is not the person I'm used to seeing. You look horrible.
Right. Wow.
And like those were just the moments where I was just like, okay, I need to. Yeah, it was like that's when my light clicked for me. Like, it's time. Enough is enough. This is it.
Wow.
I was only 26, so 27. So it's like, break. You still in your 20s? Like, come on. You need to. This is it. They ain't got this way.
Right. And Van, what was the moment for you when you was just like, it's enough? Like, you had enough?
For me, I think that I worked so much because I was numb. I wanted to leave. He didn't want to leave. The physicalness part was, if you don't stay home and you stay at work, you don't have to see him. You don't have to talk to him. You don't have to get hit. You don't have to worry about fighting. So I actually stayed so much at work that I stayed the night at work because I didn't want to go home. And then I'm working 14 days straight, not going home. And he came looking for me. It was to the point where he would come to my job and they would say, well, she's not here because they knew. And I think hiding what I was going through, kind of, I didn't want my family to know, didn't want my friends to know, because I was afraid of what they were going to say. They were going to talk about me, how they would feel, because everybody knew me as the stand-up strong Van. And I wasn't the person that they saw. Why you like this? Why you shutting down on us? We used to you making us laugh and, being silly. So one day, I had talked to one of my coworkers and we were talking. She said, Van, I've been through this. I've been down that road with the black guys, with being drugged in the street by my hair, being ran over by a car. She said, listen, you can get out now. Try your best to get out. And when she said that, he was on probation. when she said that morning, I could not wait. And something kept clicking, clicking, clicking. I know what you need to do. Go talk to his parole officer. And I did. And I cried so bad to this woman. And she said, well, I'm going to say this. She said, he violated because he put his hands on you. He violated because that's another charge. He violated because he did not go to job sites. He violated because he's running from me because he's supposed to did urine. Now I'm sitting there, my insides is getting happy, but I couldn't fix my lips to say, okay, or in my mind, I kept saying, I don't want to send this man to jail.
Right.
Because when you love somebody that you think you love and all the abuse that you went through, it's like almost fear. In my case, I had more fear and anxiety more than turned to depression. I didn't feel the emotions part because I was numb. So I was so numb that I didn't feel the pain until I held it in for so long, I couldn't take it no more. I actually broke down. But I broke down in a place where to send him to jail. But I was confused. Do I send him to jail? Do I let him stay home? I had enough. Because now it's to the point I'm not seeing my children. And my children is everything to me. It was to the point, hit this switch, let her go get him. So she told me, she gave me a number. She said, listen, when you see him, call me immediately. So happened that morning he was going to leave out, and I shut down, wasn't saying anything to him. I think that irritated him, and we had a fight. And when we had a fight, he had black in my eye around. I had a cut from here on the side of my face, so I had to take skin from somewhere else because there was a gash. So he took skin from my leg and put it in my face. Now you can't tell because it's been healed over years and years. When he did that, so happened my neighbor called the police. She heard me breaking things and screaming, and she called the police. So it happened when she called the police, the lady, his probation officer came around there, and they kept banging on the door, and he kept pushing me away so I wouldn't get to the door until the point that they kicked my door in. And when they kicked the door in, I was on the floor, he was on top of me, but he had a knife. And when they was ready to shoot him, he dropped it and he turned over on his back because he didn't want to die. I didn't care at that time if he died or not. But that was the scapegoat for me to get out because I reached out to somebody that had control over his life. And he did 8 years. And now he's I gotten older. He's older. We have a son. My son is 30 by him. And he's angry with me. And I don't understand. You are angry with me? We don't speak. But when his family have gatherings, his family always loved me. But I was angry because they didn't help me. They didn't defend me. But then when they did, I got angry with them because I said, you in my business. He loves me. And you know how we get, people always say, don't get in their mess because she only going to turn on you because she don't want you to say nothing to him or you better not open your mouth. And that's where we were at. And then I couldn't get upset with them because it was almost to say that was the truth. But I got out of it because I sent him to jail.
Yeah, and we send mixed messages. We get mad at the family, then we get mad if the family doesn't help. But when our minds are so messed up that we send mixed messages to everybody. So when people do try to help, we're pushing them away. When they don't help, we're mad at them. So, it's just a vicious cycle. And the other question I wanted to ask everybody is, because we're nearing the end, is how has this abusive behavior left you? Because abuse doesn't just go, the feelings of it don't just go away when you walk away from the relationship. Those feelings, those emotions, however it's left you, is still there. And you have to really do the work. Like I tell everybody, I still go to therapy every Tuesday. I've been in therapy since like 2008, it's 2021. And my therapist told me on Tuesday, like, I think you're good. You don't have to come back. I said, I will keep coming until my eyes close because there's always something to work on. But one of the way that it's left me is, like I said, from I went from it was really hard for me to trust men, especially black men. I just, whenever I talked to them, I talked with anger. It didn't matter who they were. I talked with a lot of anger. I didn't want to be bothered with them. Didn't want them in my face, and didn't want to have sex with them. Like, I just did not like black men. And it left me that way where I was just always angry, always on edge, always, like you're looking over your shoulder, making sure nobody's touching you or they're not coming close. And those were things that I had to work on in therapy. Thank God he's blessed me to get through that. But the way that it still left me is when I had those strokes. And I had no idea. And this is why I'm saying to everybody who's listening that it doesn't just go away. I had been away from that situation since 2008. I had my first stroke in 2015. I was divorced by then. So it was confusing to me when my neurologist said that it's from stress. And I was like, no, I left him in 2008. We're not together. Blah, blah, I'm going on. He said, no, 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 no. He said, this is something that you were in that relationship for 27 years. And this is something that has just been going on for years and years and years. And what was happening, when he broke it down to me, I'm like, wow. What was happening is I did what Van did. I started working. And at one point, I was working 3 jobs at one time. And I figured if I could just work and, make sure I go to my son's games, make sure that he's good. It was like I probably slept about 2 hours a night. So I did all this working, and we're talking about at least 16 or 17 years of doing that. And the neurologist said your brain never got a chance to get a break or rest. You weren't resting, and you were constantly just, feeding it information. And what's crazy is that my son went to college in 2015. He went to college. That was his first year. And we dropped him off in August of 2015. In October was when I had the stroke. And I noticed right after I dropped him off, I started getting these real severe headaches. September, it was just severe headaches. It didn't feel like a migraine. It felt like something was just brewing, like it was going to explode. And then in October of 2015, I had a massive stroke. It wiped everything out, everything. And, when the neurologist was breaking it down to me, he said, I had spent so many years keeping my brain busy and active and and pushing the other stuff, the abusive behavior in the background, that when my son went to college, my brain didn't have anything to focus on. And my brain literally just went haywire, and I had a stroke. I had a massive stroke because, and it sounded crazy because everything was good. I was making money, had a good job, had a beautiful place. Everything was great. And, at that point, my brain had nothing to focus on but goodness. And doesn't that sound crazy? It had nothing to focus on but goodness. And because my brain had been so conditioned to chaos, it didn't know how to respond to just the quietness and the great things that were going on.
Can we look at it?
Huh?
I was going to say, can we look at it from the perspective that your body was now taking full advantage of the opportunity that you needed to rest?
Right.
If we don't choose to rest and to recuperate and to recover and to care for ourselves, our bodies will literally shut down so that we can do so. Exactly. Some people call it a coma. Yeah, some people go into a coma, and that gives you an opportunity. Some people have different incidences, issues that will come up and force them to rest. I've been in a couple of those situations myself, and so unless we take that time purposefully and use the energy to benefit us, our bodies will take that time for us.
Exactly. And that's exactly what he said. Your body just says enough. And the body takes over. So now for me, if I do too much now or my brain gets overstimulated, I don't even have to try to go to sleep. My body just automatically shuts down and I go to sleep. And before I understood fully what was going on with me after those strokes, I could sleep for two days straight and not wake up, and just be asleep where somebody has to wake me up or call me or something like that. That's how bad it was. And so now I've had to learn through therapy how to live my life. They call it, I
Kind of
call it the
manage
new
it.
normal. Yeah, I call it the
Yeah.
new normal, but I've had to learn how to live my life and rest my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't say like I'm going to sleep, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. No, I'm resting my brain. I'm literally resting my brain.
Yeah.
So, that's the effect that it's had on me. And I had a stroke 2015, 2016, and 2017. And each time my body, my brain shut down, and every time, and that's when they started figuring it out, because they would keep going back to what were you doing at that moment.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
each time I had gotten into a confrontation with my ex. And a couple days after that, everything went numb, my face drooped, and I'm in a full blown stroke. So 3 times, of having to
Wow.
learn to walk, talk, learn how to use your phone, your computer, everything was wiped out. So I had to learn. And Brittany said something a few minutes ago. It's like, how long are you going to do this? And that third time, I was like, you know what? I have to make some adjustments, especially when it comes to him and dealing with stress, period. And so
Yeah.
that's what I've done. So Brittany, how has all of that you've gone through, how has it left you?
Well, first I'll say initially, like you said, it's like I was forced to kind of like just like, okay, this is the new normal. Like this is about to be my new normal. Um, Initially, like that was like right after it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up actually making amends because we had a daughter together, and it was just not. I'm gonna say amends, but he apologized to me, and I said it's all right, whatever. And he
Mm-hmm.
did, do this long, thorough apology. And the last thing I ever heard him say was, "You were right," but he never told me what I was right about.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, my new normal was now just being a full time single mom. It was focused on my kids. And the crazy thing is, like you just said, my body and my mind kind of just had to whip itself back into shape.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I started those panic attacks that would come and go and
Yeah.
come and go and come and go. I eventually had to get a therapist. He actually ended up passing away.
Oh wow.
And it was crazy. It was really really crazy because we actually his me and his roommate found him, so it was
Mm.
crazy. And it was just like, right when I started going to therapy, that's when he passed away. And you know um I just had to start taking on, like, okay, now it's really time to get it, girl. Like, you gotta get it. Like,
Mm.
listen, you unfortunately, you are not a product of your environment, because I knew better growing up. And I
Right.
didn't have these representations that my daughter and my son once had growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had to put my put my mommy gear on. I had to put the working mom gear on. I had to just kind of, but still learn that I had to take time for myself. And now I
Mm-hmm.
know, like, that's important. Unfortunately, still do sometimes struggle with a little PTSD. This is why I started back going to therapy, because I did
Yeah.
stop. I'm in a new relationship with a totally different person. And, it's amazing, to actually feel good energy for
Right.
once,
Right.
from after a long, 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 long time. It's
Yeah.
amazing to feel supported, and it's really amazing to feel loved, and it's amazing to be reminded what God can do, and that God didn't place every man on this earth to be what you thought.
Right. Right.
And it's amazing to have the love and support of my family and my friends. And they didn't even know a lot of things that I had went through until I started just relaying pieces and pieces.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I still to this day, even in my new relationship with somebody that's totally different, super loving, super caring, super supportive, super, like, really amazing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I have to kind of remember, Brittany, that's not him. So
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes when we get into our little spats, it's like and it's like, Brittany, that ain't him. Brittany, that ain't him. Brittany, that ain't him.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely am left. And even my therapist said, unfortunately, you have a little PTSD. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on anything, but I just I have to remember that what my thinking has to be now, that I've learned that it's not, everyone's not against me. Not
Right.
everybody is
Right.
against you. And that's what I was thinking for a long time while dealing with him before he passed away. I thought that everybody was against me. You know, I'm not put here to receive love. It's no way in the world. I've dealt with a relationship before that one, it was chaotic. And then I'm in this new relationship. It was just chaotic. And it's just like, you know, from a child point of thing, it's just like, what? I'm not put here to be loved. I can't be put here to be loved. And that was what I was left with. And I had to go to therapy and overcome that. And still to this day, like, you know, I still struggle, but it's definitely not anywhere where, you know, been where I've come from. Anxiety is not as bad. I still have some anxiety, but not as bad. And it's just from thinking like that. I have to remember that thought. Not everybody's against you. You know, like, you are okay. You are enough. And I actually had a women's event back in 2019, and that was like our hashtag, you are enough, because of things that I had been through. And I had amazing panelists that were, you know, there, and an amazing speaker to just remind other women that we are really enough, because sometimes we don't feel like we are. And we do actually a lot. We do a lot.
And it's good. And I'm glad you mentioned about, you know, being able to go through that and move into another relationship, and also recognize that you still have a little bit of that trauma and where you have to remind yourself that this person I'm with now is not the other person. And I just wanted to say to you to keep doing that, because that's good therapy for yourself, to keep reminding yourself, because it eventually will go away. Because when you keep telling yourself that over and over again, it eventually goes away, and you start to recognize that this person in front of you really is not the other person. And, you know, so I love the fact that you said that, because that's encouraging to other people. And what I did in my case is that I just stopped the whole, you know, dating, talking to people altogether. I was just like, I'm not doing it, you know, because I needed to work on me, because I knew that I still had those issues of trust. That's what it comes down to. There's
And I
trust
definitely took
issues.
2 years for that. I did. I
Yeah.
took 2 years for that, and I abstained. Like, I just
Right.
I guys were asking me to go out. I was like, no. I chose when to start. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time to start. You know, I'm still young. I still got, you know, I ain't got to I ain't got to go nowhere. You know, ain't got a relationship. Ain't got to start go into something large. It could just be, you know, date. And I go home, and, you know, it was nice meeting you, you know. So it's just, I started off small. I started off small, and I definitely did take 2 years to myself just to do some solid thinking, recuperation.
Yeah. And you know, I'm gonna go to Van next. I just wanted to say that it is amazing to be in a relationship with someone who, well, let me just back up and say it this way. When you've been in a dysfunctional relationship, you know, for so long, sometimes it's hard for you to recognize when you're in a relationship that's functioning properly, because you're not used to that.
Like culture
and so
shock.
it is. And so you know, I would always tell people the only thing I know is how to be, that I know of and I'm used to, is how to be in a dysfunctional relationship. You know, that's all I know. So to be in a relationship now that's functional, and the person, like you said, is totally opposite from what I'm used to, like, it's just like a breath of fresh air, you know, that you don't have to walk on eggshells and be afraid to say stuff. And, you know, it's a breath of fresh air. So I just thank you for saying that, because that's encouraging to other women and men who might be going through situations right now. So Van, tell us, how has all of that trauma left you? Can you hear me, Van?
I've been with my husband for 22 years. For a long, long time, I didn't date. I didn't want to be around nobody. I just wanted to be self, because what I went through had caused some health issues. But it didn't, well, it was from working too much and dealing with the trauma situations and the domestic violence, mine affect my brain. I didn't know what a stroke was, but my face started twitching, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm just working too much, just making excuses. Until I had a stroke and I fell out, and I was in the hospital. And like you said, I had to learn how to walk, talk, and sometimes I still forget, and my balance off. So that's how I looked at my marriages. I mean, my first marriage, and going through a domestic violence. It was off. You was just trying to walk straight, but you was going sideways, and you didn't realize it because he could come in the house and be so sweet and bring roses, and then and you falling forward, and then you go back to stage one again, and going through it. So my husband now, I took him through hell. It wasn't physical. It like, what you looking at? Like, why you here? And and he asked me questions, and I would snap at him, and he was like, it's gonna be okay. It was like he was more calm, but it was me all over the place. He was supportive, but I didn't know how to accept that and take that. And I was angry all the time. Beat myself up for things that I shouldn't have been through. I shouldn't have did. And it was always there. Why you put yourself through that? Why you going through that? And did you sure you want to be with him? Why you accepting this behavior? But it wasn't him. Like Brittany said, I had to realize that this is a man, and I was dealing with a boy who didn't know what love was, and was raised by a woman, and I can't blame her for the way that he react or the way he grew up and his reactions was. But a lot of times I would take him through so much. So I started going to therapy. I started seeing a psychiatrist, but my health started going down and going down to the point where I couldn't think. I couldn't remember if I had children. But when I tell you medicine is a beautiful thing, every morning, LadyJ, I showed you. Let me tell you something. Let me show you ladies something. And I have a problem showing you this. Going through domestic violence, and I don't have a problem with showing the world. Let me show y'all something. What domestic violence can take you through. Let me just show y'all this.
And I've seen the world. This, by the way. I've seen this. I was shocked.
You see this? You see that? That's medicine. Domestic violence. This is everything I take. So when women say how you stay, people say why you stay, because our body comes accustomed to being mistreated.
There it is.
The words become the known.
There it is.
That's all we knew. And so for me to come back to surface, and I'm still not there because I still get angry, but I put this shield up to remember, stop. This is not this person. This is what you didn't experience, and this is what you need to. But when I take my medicine, I'm a whole different person. Through health, through the domestic violence, to thinking differently, to feeling different. I put clothes on, I dress up, I look in the mirror more. I go shopping now. I don't have to worry about my clothes being ripped off of me. It was to the point that I would go to sleep, and in my sleep, I would think that I'm being attacked, and I would sit up all night long and look at the light and watch the fish tank and just look at the TV, because that's how it had me. It had me going and going and going and going, and I couldn't relate. I mean, I was so angry that I could not take care of my children. It was just giving them so they could just stay away from me, because I didn't want them to see me cry. I didn't want them to see me going through. Mine was anxiety so bad that I had to squeeze myself. So literally squeeze myself and just ball them into a knot, because I didn't want to feel the emotion. I didn't want to feel the pain. When I take that medicine, I'm just as calm and humble. But what happens when that medicine is no more? I'm back to angry. I'm back to fighting. I try to pull myself away from this medication. It didn't work. I tried it, and I felt like I wanted to take my life. I felt like everybody was just talking to me, and there was nobody around, And then when I go around people, I couldn't relate. And I was talking to business people. I go talk to my doctor. Let me tell you something, so we can end, so she can speak. So I went to the doctor's office. I never forget. I did not take my medicine. I didn't want to take my medicine, because every time I go to the doctor's, it was take this pill for this, and you take this pill for that, and you take this during the daytime, you take the nighttime. I didn't take my medicine at all before I went to go see him. He was talking to me, and it sounded like he was saying, wah, 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 wah. And because he was a man, a black man, I jumped up and I pushed him in the corner, and he was calling for help. My mind just went there, and they shot me up, and I'm back in the hospital. I'm in the psych ward. I'm fighting everybody. I think I stayed more sedated than anything. I never knew what a straitjacket was, but that's what I was in, to keep my hands to myself. And today, that's what made me learn to keep my hands to myself.
Wow. That's powerful. Kevette. Wow.
That's a lot.
Yes. How has the domestic violence situation you were in, how has it left you?
Well, there's two sides of the coin for me. I am currently identifying myself as a financial liberation expert because I feel liberated on one side, because I no longer have that pressure. I no longer have the stress. I no longer have the self-loathing that I felt before, and those challenges, the overworking and on all of that. The challenge, though, was that there are many relationships that were left, in toil after that relationship dissolved. The relationship that I had with my children, reconnecting with my family, building new friendships because I was isolated for so long, and not really having, real friends around me, people who being able to identify, people who cared about me versus people who just wanted to get something from me. And that's the residual effect or the trauma response that comes from the abuse that we endure. It does, as you said, it changes your perspective. And the hardest part for us is to like you said early on, Lady J, to first take responsibility. And then to recognize, to identify, how am I really right now? How people would ask you, how are you? And you just answer fine. And it's not. I think the best definition I ever heard for the word or the acronym for the word fine came from a movie where he says, you're fine, you're not fine. Fine is, fearful, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Wow.
And so when you're fine, you're answering that question, trying to make people think that you're okay, but you're not. And for me, getting out of that situation gave me an opportunity to really reflect on who I am and where do I really want to be in my life, because I felt like that relationship held me back for so long. I was not able to move forward and accomplish the goals that I wanted to. And I wanted to mention two things from the conversation earlier. We talked about suicide and the attempts that have been made. One thing I really want people to understand is that an attempt of suicide is not an attempt to kill yourself. It's an attempt to end the pain that you're in, is what it is. So nobody really wants to lose their life. What they want to do is end it. They don't have to live life that experience anymore. So people want to live. When we are able to really understand that and then reflect on, okay, we want to live. Now, how do we want to live? And after you understand how you want to live, now, how are you going to make that happen? Because what I had to do was shift from what happened to me to what am I going to make happen in my life? And that's where I am right now. I'm in that stage where I am making different things happen in my life because I've made a choice to stand above that and not allow it to be the definition of who I am or who I'm going to be in the future. And so now being able to really take the time that I've needed to be alone and to get to know me and to really get to love who I am, that's where I am. And that time to me is the most valuable. And I love being able to do that because I feel like once I have gotten to the point, or once I had gotten to the point, and I have just, not long ago, gotten to the point where I can actually look in the mirror and say, I love me, and mean it and smile and laugh and be like, yeah, I really do love myself. And being to that point, it's now understanding that how I love me is setting the example for how other people need to love me. And it's setting the example for me of what I will accept. Because again, like we talked about in the beginning, if I had that confidence before, I would not have attracted or accepted the abusive relationship that I got into. Now that I have that level of confidence, I am no longer accepting any type of abusive relationship. And that means from family, that means from friends, that means from, from people that I might be romantically involved with. I can't. Because what I have to do is I have to make sure that I'm cared for, that I'm full, that I'm filled up, so that I can continue to do what I do and serve others from the overflow. Because I know that my purpose is to serve others, and I love serving other people. And finding the way to do that through me is through financial education. That's what I do. I host my financial education workshops. I serve my financial clients, and I'm building my financial business. And so that helps me to continue to feel like I'm moving forward with a purpose, and to be able to make a difference, with the opportunity that I've had to have this experience, so that I can share the lessons that I've learned, and hopefully others can be wise enough to learn from my firsthand experiences, so that they don't have to share those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
It's and what she just said is very important, especially when you're talking about pouring out. Because something that stuck out to me was also, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you're a mother and you a teacher, and you're a giver and you're a provider, you're a nurturer, how are we supposed to be the things that we are called to be if we are suffering? And that is something that definitely stuck out to me, because I have children. I want to be, an advisor. I want to be, an educator for them. I want to be a nurturer. I want to be a lover. I want to be healed. But I cannot do anything like that if I don't seek God first, and seek what it is exactly that's pulling me away from these things. And like I said, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If it's all dry, you ain't got nothing to give.
Right.
And
Exactly.
not only are they going to suffer, but you're going to suffer trying to give out nothing.
Yeah, something you don't have.
Something
And
you
that's
don't
why
have.
it's so important for men and women who have gone through abuse to take the time to pull away and deal with yourself. Because if you don't, you just take all of that baggage into another relationship,
Yep.
and you're putting it on somebody else who has nothing to do with what you went through, and you're causing pain and trauma to somebody else. And so, I love the fact that all of you, including myself, and I didn't even know this until tonight, that we all just pulled away. And we were like, nope, we're not dealing with anything or anybody. We're just going to deal with ourselves. And like Kevette said, when you do that, you learn how to validate yourself. You learn how to look in the mirror and say, I'm okay with my flaws, with my everything. The one person I was with, he always talked about my weight. I'm not like a huge, heavy person, but I guess in his mind, he really liked, skinny women.
Yep.
But for some reason, he was messing with me. But he always would talk about my weight, and it was really starting to get to me where I was like, feeling like I was about 500 pounds.
Yes.
And now, I look at myself and I'm like, look, it is what it is. I've never been a size 2 ever. So, and then it ain't going to happen because that's not my body structure. So I have to be happy with myself. And if people around me or the person that I choose is not happy with me, then that's a problem. There's nothing I can do. And so everybody, you have to learn how to love yourself first, because when you love yourself first, you show others how to treat you and how you want to be treated. And right now I have on the screen the domestic violence hotline number. It's 1-800-799-7233. Please do not be afraid to call that number. I've actually called that number for people that have called me. And these people are very good. They will get somebody to your location wherever you are. Believe me, because I've done it. They will get somebody to your location to help you out. And I think the one thing that I want to leave with everybody is that domestic violence, being abused, is not normal behavior. It's not
Nope.
normal behavior. But when you find yourself in it, it does become the normal behavior for you. And we get to a point where we're so accepting of it, we feel like it's okay and this is the way it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be fussing and arguing and cussing every
Yeah.
single day. This is the way it's supposed to be. If you hit me, I'm supposed to hit you back. That's not normal, everybody. And so
Right.
it's important for you, as you're listening to us and as you're listening to the ladies that are on this panel tonight, it's important to you. We didn't get a chance to touch everything, but it's important to take some of the things of what they said and really think about it, because what everybody has said, I think the consensus is that what we all went through left us a little traumatized. It left us with having to work through some things in our lives, and we're continuing to do the work. But thank God we were able to make it out of those situations. I want to ask the ladies, are you all available next Wednesday night to do a part 2 to this?
Mhm. Yeah.
The next
Yes.
Wednesday around 8 o'clock, because
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is the thing that I want everybody to understand, is that this behavior that we got caught up in, it didn't start when we met that guy or when we started
Right.
dating that guy. It was something that happened in childhood.
And
And that's the part that everybody misses. We kind of look at, okay, I was 21. Well, I was actually 22 when I got married. This is when everything started. No, that wasn't it. Something was
Right.
going on in my childhood. In my case, I know what it was. I know exactly what
Mhm.
it was. And we'll talk about it next week. But
Yeah.
when you're going through therapy, and now as I'm talking to people, I always go back to, we got to go back to the beginning of what happened, because when we go back to the beginning, we start that picture starts coming together, and the pieces of the puzzle, you start being able to put those in place leading up to how you got yourself into this situation.
Yeah.
And so
mhm,
that's important to talk about. So I really want us to come back, so we can have that conversation and help people to understand that we can't just
mhm,
focus on it happened. All of this happened when I first met this person. We got to
mhm,
deal with us, and we have to
mhm,
understand what was going on with us and what was our mindset and how and why we got caught up in it. If anybody is interested in any, Kevette, you're a life coach as well, right?
I am a financial advisor, but
Financial
I'm
advisor.
also an emotional intelligence practitioner. So, yes, what I work with my clients on is understanding how to reset their mindset in order to manage their money properly.
Okay.
And I realized in my own circumstance that I needed to make sure that my mindset was straight in 5 different areas. And I would love to talk about those areas the next time we get together, because there's also abuse in each one of those areas that really
Absolutely.
goes unidentified. And
Hmm.
once we can identify it, then we can start to deal with it.
Right. And that's important. I wanted you to put your information out, because we also want to be a resource for people
Absolutely.
as well, because I actually do, I'm a certified life and spiritual coach, and I just got my doctorate in June of this year, and I was really trying to,
Congratulations.
learn about mental health, and mainly because I needed to understand who I was, and
Yeah.
why certain things, I allowed certain things to happen. So my no, my number is not on the screen. I'm going to put my number up on the screen, and while I'm doing that, Kevette, if you could give them your information on how they could reach out to you,
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
would be good.
Well, there's two ways they can reach me. You can reach me directly at I am Kevette. That's IAMKEV as in Victor ETTE on either Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. As well as you can reach me through my company, Mari More Life. It's www.marimorlif as in Frank E.com. And you can see that on the board right behind me. That's marimorelife.com. On that website, I actually have some free resources available so that folks can get started in the process before we even have a conversation. And then I also offer a free 15-minute consultation so that we can kind of identify what is the greatest need. And I even give some suggestions for getting them started so that they can actually identify the task or the steps that need to be taken and to start moving forward. It's all about taking the next step on your journey. you know, and I believe that you can get that information in just a short period of time. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot, but it does take you being willing to make a decision that you're going to do this and move forward. And I will be here to completely support you. Absolutely.
Okay. And I'm going to put my information on the screen because, believe it or not, as busy as I am, I love doing this part, having the conversations and helping people to heal. We lost Brittany. I love doing that. I love helping people to heal. So my number is on the screen. You can feel free to call me, and we can set up a session to talk as well. Or I'm sure Kevette wouldn't mind if you wanted a seminar done. We can do seminars as well. So give us a call. Make sure you take on her information. My website, I think, is scrolling at the bottom, so you can also go to my website as well. So ladies, I just want to say thank you so much. And I am so glad that we've all, there's Brittany. Now I can say it to everybody. Let me make sure I put her back up. I'm glad that we've all been able to walk away from what did not serve us. And we were able to see that. We were able to walk away. And now we're able to create a new life and create new pathways for ourselves. So thank you to Brittany Murray. She's our youngest survivor on here. We want to thank Kevette for coming on. Also want to thank Van for coming on with us tonight. And everybody, join us for part 2. If you really want to understand how you got into certain situations, and you know what, Kevette, it's not even just abuse. It's like, how did you get into not handling your money the right way? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's a lot to talk about. It's a lot to unpack. So
well, you talk about why we were stuck or why many women get stuck in domestic violence situations. It is because of the financial abuse that is always, not sometimes, not often, but always coupled with that domestic violence.
Yes. Absolutely. Yep. So make sure you join us. I can't do next Thursday because I have an event, but next Wednesday, join us at 8:00 p.m. I'll make sure I put the post out so you all can join. If there are any men out there, I do want to honor the men because I don't want you all to think that we're just focusing on women and abuse. I do understand that men have gone through abusive situations as well. So if there are any men out there and you are willing and interested and you don't mind telling your story, please let me know. You can contact me at that number that's on the screen, and we can set up something and we can do a show with the men. And you can share your story because I think it's important to share your story so we can help other people to grow. And we have some people who are watching who didn't put their information on the screen, but they're currently in abusive situations who said thank you for what we're doing tonight. And we want to keep their names confidential, but you are welcome, everybody. And we hope that what we said will encourage you to make that move to get out. And so before we close, I just want to ask everybody, is there any parting advice that you want to give to someone who is currently in an abusive situation? Brittany, we'll start with you.
My advice would to be, honestly, it sounds so like cliche, but really pick up on those red flags, especially if there are children involved, and know that you are definitely worth more than what that individual is trying to make you feel like. And that goes for men, and that part goes for men and women. But definitely just pick up on the red flags. If you have someone that's older and cares for you and really actually can see destruction ahead, it doesn't hurt to just listen. And this speaking from my age group especially. And if it just doesn't feel right and you're still early, don't go with it. If you know deep down inside that you it's like, oh, well, we can work. No, if it's something that's very serious, don't go with it. Pray first. If you feel like this is really something for you, pray on it. Take it serious, and just remember you are worth it. You are enough, and know your self value. Because if nobody don't, you do, and you have to
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kevette?
Yeah, my encouragement to each woman, to each man, is to start up a routine, a new routine of something that will help to build you up with the encouragement that you need. And there's 4 simple steps that I take in the routine that help me to build my confidence, to rebuild myself, to reestablish myself in life. And those are to first read every day something that's going to be a personal development, spiritually encouraging, upbuilding something, to write,
Yes,
so that you have an opportunity to get it out of your system, whatever those thoughts are that haunt you, whatever the negativity that you believe about yourself. Write it down, get it out, so that you no longer have to hold on to it and carry it around with you every day. And then take some opportunity to get some exercise, get out and walk. And I'm not just talking about stroll around the neighborhood. I'm talking about work yourself so that you get up to a rhythm and a sweat. Because when you get to that point, then what you're doing is you're boosting the hormones in your body, those happy hormones that will start to kick in on a regular basis for you, which have already been depleted because of the abuse. So you need to work on the endorphins, the adrenaline, the serotonin, and making sure that those things are being boosted for you, because that's what's going to help you to feel better naturally. And then the final thing is to take some time to meditate. Pray. And your prayer is when you're talking to God. So you could actually be talking to God while you're journaling, getting all of that stuff out of your system. But you got to take some time to meditate, to just sit and to listen, to listen to your internal responses. What we have been taught in most cases is that we don't know anything and we got to look outside of ourselves for the answers. But the truth is, you already have all the answers. You start listening to yourself.
It's so true. I journal.
Yeah.
And that is so true. That is something I have 6 journals filled. And
Yeah.
I'm working on number 7, and that literally is so true. You need an outlet. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And taking that time to meditate is what's going to help you to learn how to find your peace internally, to find that balance, so that when you're feeling anxious, you can bring it down. And there's a simple mantra that I use for those anxiety moments when I feel like things are, out of my control. And it just simply helps to put things back into perspective. First, I tell myself that I am enough. And then I say that I have enough. And then I say that I do enough. And then I recognize that God is my provider. And I say Ashe, or amen. Ashe is just a way to say, peace be still, as be done, but it's in an African language. And I find peace in that. And so being able to make those 4 statements and then, solidify that with the confirmation of it is done, then that helps to really just settle the energy, so that you're able to have the peace that you need to have in order to think clearly and to make better decisions.
Yeah. And I love the journaling part, because I'm looking at my bookcase over this computer. I have so many journals in there, and I went from journaling to writing everything out on social media. I guess people might think that I write too much, but it's like therapy for me to just go ahead and put it out there, just write it, to
And
help
there's so many
somebody
people
else.
that you reach in the process. I mean, your transparency has encouraged me so much. And I just want to say that here, thank you so much for allowing me an opportunity to be here with you. But it was the fact that you made those posts earlier this week that was so encouraging to see, the transition, and to see there's a different perspective. There is confirmation of the opportunity, because sometimes even though we're working so hard to get to that place, it seems like it's so far away. But it's like when you recognize that you're not alone and somebody else has already been on this path, maybe they're taking a different road, but that you will find your destination.
Right. And that's why I tell people, just be patient and wait, especially women. If I could just leave one thing, I just want to say, be patient and wait. Let God, we have those lonely moments.
Yeah.
I didn't really have them because I was just so turned off at one point in my life with men, just black men, period, because I had put them all in the same category. But I know that women, you have your children and your career and all this stuff, and then you just get lonely where you want somebody in your life, you want to go to the movies. Learn how to do those things by yourself. Learn how to be happy with you, going to the movies, going to the store, going to dinner, going for walks. I really spent a lot of time just getting to know me because I had lost myself into relationships. So, when I was writing this week, it was just like, wow, I'm finally here. I'm finally in a place where I've I've healed and I can actually embrace somebody and take them in with no trust issues, none of that stuff. And that was a surprise to me because you never know how much you've grown until things are put in front of you. But I will tell everybody, especially women, to wait, stop running into the next relationship, wait and work on you. And when it's time for that person to come, they will appear. They will come when you least expect it. But just make sure you're ready because for me, I felt like if I didn't take that time, those 3 years to heal, that was my last go round. That last week, that I was like, I can't do that anymore. So I had to stop. And then sometimes you got to get off the train and just stand still and do what you need to do for you. So Van, what advice would you give to men and women who are currently in abusive relationships?
Well, you ladies said everything I was thinking to speak to say, but um, I would encourage women and men to, kind of pick up your pieces and put them back together almost like a puzzle because, each piece in the puzzle was broken or you couldn't
Mhm.
find the right piece to fit it all over again. So you kind of want to take time for yourself and you want to, analyze things before you can accept to deal with, someone else, even if it's just friends or, just to talk to someone.
Right.
But that's the biggest thing, going to speak to someone, but admitting that you have this problem, that's a need to go and speak to someone like all of us on here. We have been through the situations. I don't like talking to people who have not experienced what I have experienced. And it's almost, I can catch it quickly from a woman, like she has been through something. So me, I'll say, you look nice. Most women can't do that. And I had to learn to do that going through the domestic violence. You look nice. I like them shoes, like your hair. And I always tell you, lady, I always tell you, I like that hair on you. I like that makeup on you, because it's therapy for a lot of people that had their head down for so long. You got to
Mhm.
pick it up and you got to pack it up, and we got to come to self. We have to self love all over again before you can like love and care for someone else. We got to just, write down some things, read some books, and, to get your mind back, strength into, where it broke down from and where that crack was in the middle.
Mhm.
But a lot of times for me, I make things, I design things, and I stayed away from, everybody, not just men, everybody. And that's how I started getting creative on things. Therapy comes in all forms. You have to find peace with yourself first and foremost, and you have to get that anger out of you, and you have to, get the don'ts and the do's, and I'm not going to do, all those words. You just want to change them words and change your walk and change your talk and change the words. You have to, almost the saying, say, if you didn't know how to sing, you learn how to sing last week, or you learn how to sing last year, to change your life around. Some things that we used to do or we experienced or was in, you got to change those things.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Again, everybody, the domestic violence hotline number is 1-800-779-7233. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Need my glasses.
799.
1
799
yeah,
799.
7233, everybody. So make sure you join us next Wednesday night. We'll be back again. We're going to do a part 2 and really talk about, we need to unpack. So we're going to unpack and really talk about how all of this stuff started. And I definitely want to make sure that, because that's how we come back full circle. You know, we got to start at the beginning. So we are going to start there. Thank you to Brittany. Thank you to Kevette. Thank you to Van.
You.
Thank you so much for coming on and being transparent and sharing everything that you've gone through. And you guys, again, we all just want to tell you that you don't have to suffer in silence. That's the word
Absolutely.
we want to leave with you tonight. We have a show that's coming up at 10 o'clock. Um, um, oh man, it's called okay, y'all. Otis and Anika, don't kill me. I got so much on my brain. I have to have my notes in front of me. The Social Hour with Otis and Anika will be coming on at 10 o'clock in just a few minutes. So make sure you stay tuned for that. They have a guest coming on tonight. And I hope you all have a great night. Ladies, thanks again. Take care. Be
You.
blessed and
Thank
be
you.
safe. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks,
And
Lady
I
J.
know you are phenomenal women, and we just have so much more that's in store for us. So everybody take care. Have a great night. My name
Thanks.
is Lady J, and we will talk to you again next Wednesday. Stay tuned for the Social Hour with Otis and Anika.